You know, Crazy Dave, you are odd, but you don't come off as, sick or wicked. Just play chess in my shitty apartment and eat food from Walmart. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's just kind of a crazy randomness, like, for example, all of a sudden I've got this wooden Eowyn sword in front of me, and you know, it's kind of funny, I have this wooden sword, and people ask me what's it for, and I said, well, it's to kill vampires. When people talk about fun, I mean, the fact of the matter is it's hard to have any fun. I mean, you know, it's hard to have any fun when you're living at this level of analysis. I mean, everything becomes work. I mean, it's analysis paralysis. It's kind of like a narcissistic, self-concerned, navel-gazing, you know, kind of way of looking at reality. And that's what happens when we, you know, analyze things to death. Analysis paralysis or whatever the hell you want to call it. I just wanted a hat that fit. Apparently I have a 2X head, and I said it's very hard to find a hat that will fit. The other thing about trying to find something that will fit your head, like when you kind of realize your head in itself just doesn't fit, not just in a literal way, but in an abstract way. Like, just as my head does not fit the typical hat, the way I think and the way I speak just doesn't seem to fit anywhere I go. The only place I've ever found any acceptance of all is academia, where you can have like a little bit of dementia and people don't notice because of the size of your words. But that's okay. Ultimately, the reason why I wear this hat is because when I wear this hat, like, I think it gives me a certain amount of respectability, so people won't run me over with their car. That's a big thing, because I think if I were wearing a baseball cap, I'm pretty sure the cops would run me over twice. But that's the thing. I mean, like, you wear a baseball cap, I guess in some people's minds they can just think banger, and then all of a sudden I'm not a civilian anymore. But there's something about this hat that instantly screams white civilian. Well, I got it at Walmart. I buy almost everything I get at Walmart, not because I like Walmart. Walmart is evil. It's just that I'm poor and I'm an intellectual wage slave. So as an intellectual wage slave, you kind of make compromises as you go. Ultimately, people are simply not interested in examining the own structure of their perception. I mean, this is all in Lao Tzu. It says, the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the internal name. Ultimately, most of our philosophical problems come from trying to put everything in a box. There is almost no escape. You know, Nietzsche in The Sounding of the Idols says, the main idea is not to attempt to come to any kind of new profound truth, as much as to understand that you're still stuck in the ideology, you're still stuck in the mechanism, but you can have fun with it along the way. Oh, well, first of all, I stopped taking my medication. Uh, I mean, that's always the best answer. What do you do for fun? I stopped taking my medication. Uh, uh, and I don't even know. I mean, the thing is, and what's interesting about this is chess is a wonderful analogy when talking about how society works, because that's how we pigeonhole people anyway. We think of people as pieces. We manipulate them as pieces. We think of them as only being able to move and operate and exist in relationship and other pieces in certain ways. We frequently are abstractifying and conceptualizing all of reality to basically resemble the certain kinds of rules of a game. Almost every self-help book kind of tries to put life into a context of a game. Every single time people say how to pick up women, they refer to life in the context of a game, where all of these rules and systems are presupposed. The very idea of the issue being flexible or being able to transcend the limitations that we put on it, knock on wood, is totally fictitious. Thrust. You thrust with wood. Wood is a thrusting instrument. Anyway, I don't know. People are just completely I did have a girlfriend. I know that's probably hard to believe, but hands are still in my wood. You know, I don't understand why your hand is on my wood. You know, space allows for a multiplicity of perspectives. And when we talk about multiplicity of perspectives, you know, that's when people immediately get overwhelmed. They start getting confused, put on the straitjacket, what the fuck. We need to understand that almost all of reality is being systematically condensed to make it digestible, when as a matter of fact, there's very little in which we can perceive. And ultimately, the problem of space is the problem of delineation in general. And when I say the problem of delineation, that's when people begin to roll my eyes and, you know, they think Crazy Dave is crazy.
Smoogle just runs the precious remains in our bones, in our bones. I don't understand the Vulcans jumping around. Smoogle just wants to run a train. Choo choo. Remains in our veins. We sold the precious for only 15 grams of precious.
I guess that's kind of a little bit Derridian, a little bit. So. After I stop taking my medication, I usually need to do two things. First, I have to find and locate my car, and then I have to bring back the car I took. But the other thing, I mean, you have to be careful about when you don't take your medication, because bad things happen. I mean, there was this one time where my sleep got irregular because I didn't take my medication, and I kind of went on this bender, and I woke up in a Chinese restaurant. And number one, it's kind of an awkward feeling waking up holding a wet spare rib in the first place, because when your eyes are closed, you're not really sure what's in your hand. The other thing is that, you know, you wake up in the Chinese restaurant, and all of a sudden you have three Chinese faces staring down at you, and there's this brief moment of terror where you think they've taken over. But the other thing, I mean, again, is that when you talk about fun, I mean, ultimately, we need to understand that life itself is way too seriously, because life is built upon the predication of a fixed system of rules. Everything has rules. Everything is fixed. You know, games have rules. Life has rules. School has rules. Businesses have rules. You know, laws are rules. Everything is rules. And so what is almost always my source of fun is finding ways to play with the rules, to make the rules no longer have to apply. Oh, well, first of all, you know, like you can have afternoons where you just decide, you know, you just decide not to obey certain traffic laws. You know, particularly the jaywalking traffic laws. You know, like you just start walking places. And cars, you know, people in cars, they can get really mad at you, but at the same time, you know, like it's just a lot of fun, you know, you just decide. Or, you know, maybe for one afternoon you decide that red means go and green means stop. You know, I mean, that's, that's always particularly fun. But, you know, those things aren't really, you know, long-term sustainable due to the fact that people tend to get mad and, you know, tend to arrest you, things like that. This is a thrusting sword. You can tell by the design in the pommel, this is designed for thrusting, and as a stake, it is totally perfectly designed for that purpose. And so therefore it doesn't need a sharp blade, because, you know, have you ever heard of anyone killing a vampire with a wooden stake by slashing them with it? No. And the fact that people don't understand that this is a thrusting sword. If you touch them, I'll break your fucking neck. There's more, but you know, you can probably figure out the rest for yourself. I don't know.